Hey everybody, after a busy holiday season, I'm finally able to put together an update on my SPS tank. The biggest thing that happened in the last month or so is I got this spiffy microphone, which is more for you guys, not for me. I went back and watched my last video on my TV just to see how the quality was, and the audio was horrible. Sounded good on my laptop and my phone when I was editing it, but on a real set of speakers, it was really bad. Over the last month, I wasn't really able to do much on the tank other than water changes, scraping the glass, and I did sell all of the frags in my frag tank, but I ended up filling that back up within a week or two because I had some corals that needed trimmed. But in the last week or so, I've had some free time, so I've made some changes. Stay tuned. So I haven't gotten any new corals in a while, so I figured I would give Lazy Corals some business, and I have some corals here that I ordered yesterday, arrived this morning. So I got them floating here. I'm going to dip them in some potassium chloride, and then I'm gonna stick them on the rack here. So let me get these dipped and on the rack, and I will show you when I'm done. So what I got was a chunky Superman Tenuis, Jason Fox Jolt, Blue Hornet, some Sunny D's, and some Marvin the Martian Zoes. So I mounted the Spider-Man Tenuis up here and the Jason Fox Jolt right behind it. I did have two other corals where they are now, and I moved them over there. I wanted these to be kind of front and center since they are corals that I'm very excited about. And I know I've said in the past that I was done buying corals, but I have like a hit list of a few Acropora that I don't have that I really want. These two were on that list, so there's only like a couple left that, you know, if I get an opportunity to buy, I will, which would be the Rainbow Splice, just to see what the hype's about, Sexy's Orange Passion, and then another blue Hoaxamai. So I've talked about it in my last videos a lot, about how this Milka Stylo is just taking up way too much room. Well, I ended up resetting the Milka Stylo, and by reset I mean I sold the entire colony and kept a small frag. It had really explosive growth in the last few months, and it barely fit in a 5-gallon bucket. So I sold it to a local reefer. I bet within a year I'll have another beast of a colony to get rid of. But for now, I kept a 2 or 3 inch frag just to hold on to it. With it out of my tank, it opened up this giant hole in the rockscape. So I moved this acro rock here back there in the space that the Milka Stylo used to be in, and I'm really happy with how it looks. The tank looks way less crowded than it did before, and I think that's the route I'm gonna take, is I do not want this thing to be crammed full of corals. So as everything grows out, I'll probably just keep doing that, where I frag off a small piece and get rid of a colony, basically keeping the ones that I like a lot. So far, I'm really happy with the rescape on the left side I did a few months ago. I finally moved the Upscales Microclados back a bit, which opened up a lot more room up on that top rock. Once I redid the scape, it was just kind of hanging out up there, and to keep it balanced, it was sitting like 6 to 8 inches away from the back wall, which you couldn't really tell from the depth looking at it front, but it kind of made the aquascape feel smaller up top. To make things easier, I removed the whole rock so I could work on it outside of the tank. I removed the branches that were growing off the encrusted base just to give the whole colony a cleaner look. I then pried the original tile off of the Marco rock. Here I'm cutting off another acro that had encrusted on that same rock. It's an ORA Green Planet, so I'm kind of prying that off the rock. I'm going to relocate that. After cleaning up the rock, I glued it back into place, and then I put the colony back on the original rock. It's about 3 or 4 inches from the back wall now, so that will give it a little room to grow, and I can still clean the back wall for a little bit. That opened up a lot of space up on that upper rock, so I was able to move some larger frags over from the right side of my tank to kind of fill in some of that space. And then I have a spot or two left for some other acros that I have. So I've been happy with the right side of my tank. The aquascape I think is really nice. I don't know how well it picks up on camera, but being 30 inches front to back, it does create a lot of depth when you see it in person. The only thing I need to do on the right side still is I have some corals to kill. but I have some of that rainbow Montipora down here still that I need to kill. Up here, I put epoxy over like a large section of it, and I kept it covered for like 3 months. There's no way that a Montipora could last 3 months under epoxy. So I peel it up, and sure enough, most of it's dead, but there's still a few little patches that I need to get in and kill. I mean, even with a scalpel and like some dental picks, scraping it off the rock didn't kill it. Even after being shaded for 3 months, it colored up within a month. So I need to do that. Plus I have some red mushrooms in the back that I need to kill. Thankfully the rock back here that has the mushrooms on it can come out of the tank. So I'm probably make another video where I just pull that rock out and try to either break off rocks that have the mushrooms on them or cover them with glue and epoxy. So I added some new hardware to my tank. I put these child-proof locks on my aquarium. No aquarium is complete without child-proof locks, if you have a child. So I put these on because my kid is now old enough to sometimes open the door, and she loves getting in the tank and splashing around. So this is gonna protect her and my tank. As for fish, I did add a 6-line wrasse a while back. I've had some red planaria in the display tank and in the sump, so I was hoping the wrasse would keep them at bay or even eliminate them. The population has definitely dwindled. I've definitely seen it drop in my frag sump, but not sure how much of that was from the wrasse or just they decline naturally. Since there's not a wrasse in the sump, I have really no idea how well the wrasse is doing. The display tank still has them in spots, but they're much harder to find. So not sure how much of the red planaria issue is being solved by the 6-line or if it's just a natural cycle. However, if it gets worse, I'll probably demote the 6-line out of the display tank, put them in the sump, and then possibly get a Melanurus wrasse or a yellow chorus wrasse. With that, maybe I'll see the return of a sand bed. Ugh. Well, I'd rather deal with a sand bed than looking at a container of sand in the back of the tank, so I guess I'll figure that out if it comes to be. So over the last month or two, there's been some ups and downs in this tank, mostly ups, but you know, with every tank that there is a lot of ups and downs. In coral, especially when you have stony corals, I would say it's mostly ups in that most, if not all of my acros have really, really good coloration. Growth has been pretty good. Some acros are growing really fast right now, while others have kind of slowed down. I don't know if maybe certain acros like a certain parameter and others like a different, and as my parameters kind of roller coaster through the year, they kind of take turns on growth rates. But anyways, no complaints there. The only downs I have are, I have a few acros that kind of struggle from time to time. I've talked about my old Oregon torque colony that's now just 3 frags. It keeps doing this thing where it'll grow out a little bit and then little spots will kind of die back and then it grows back and forth. I think I've tied it to a spike in salinity. So every time I've noticed this issue, I've also kind of correlated it with my salinity going up to about 37 parts per thousand as opposed to 35 parts per thousand where I like to keep it. When I do a water change, I'm always afraid to take too much water out. So when I put water back in, I don't check in the sump to make sure it's right at my auto top off line. So then if I have a little bit above the auto top off line, that evaporates and increases the salinity, and over a few water changes of doing that, my salinity creeps up. So I'm keeping an eye on that, and things have seemed to have gotten better. You know, I'll get some burnt tips on a few things, but most, if not all the acros in here, and I have a lot of acros, don't seem to mind too much. I have a Home Wrecker frag I got about a year ago. When I got it, it was all green, and then it started to encrust out on the plug, and then that encrusting tissue died back to just the frag again. And now the death is slowly creeping up, you know, the 1-inch frag. And then as that tissue dies off, it's like black. I don't know what's going on with that. All my other tenuous are doing really well, so maybe it was just not a good piece to begin with. Some future plans for this tank. I'm gonna start dosing Kalkwasser soon. I have all the equipment to get it going. I just haven't had time to set it up. I'm gonna hopefully be able to take my CO2 scrubber offline. It gets expensive after a while and it doesn't always work super well, especially in the winter when my apartment is completely closed up. So I have everything I need to get the Kalkwasser going. I just need to actually do it. I'm a little nervous about it because my 2-part system right now is so in tune that adding Kalkwasser and kind of juggling those two between my alkalinity and calcium demand, I'm hoping that it goes smoothly, but it's got me a little nervous. Another change I'm going to make is I'm gonna try to replace this Nuptse light over my frag sump with an XR15 G5 Pro. The reason I want to change this out is it's doing a fine job when acros are right under the light, but on the outskirts of the light, I'll have one side that gets nice coloration, the other side is like brown. So I don't want to sell or swap Acropora that look good on one side but not the other. So I'll have the XR15 down here, and then I might take another light if I still have shading issues and put a second light down here. So that's what's been going on with this tank. I have a few more update videos coming out soon, but once I kind of wrap things up with the new equipment and killing some of the mushrooms and monis, the updates on this tank might come out a little slower since I don't plan on doing much beyond those. I do have some other ideas in the works, so I'm not going to slow down with videos, hopefully. I just hit 1,500 subscribers, so that's a pretty nice even number. So thanks to everyone who has subscribed, and if you like my videos, please consider subscribing. It helps me and my channel out a lot. That will do it for this video, so take care.